Good morning, guys. You know, guys, I'm going to have to get a little clip for this and put this on my walking pole. Makes my arms ache. Anyway, it's that time. I'm going to go and make some breakfast in a minute, share a few thoughts, do a little update on Meet the Bushcrafters. I did a sort of biog a couple of videos back about how I all started, and now I'm going to do a little bit on on how I see what we call bushcrafting developing today. Could be a little bit controversial, who knows. I might just keep some thoughts to myself, and there will be a few other thoughts. I haven't brought out the new toasting fork, no open fire today as such, but it will be experimented on when the weather gets a bit more clement. Well, I'm going to make my way to my favourite little spot and settle down, get the fire going and share some more thoughts. Well, as I said earlier, it's a nice day actually. It's supposed to be heavy rain this morning according to the local weather forecast, but it's very, very windy, so much so that I had to put a windbreaker to keep the heat in my fire. It kept blowing out over the away from my little kettle, well, actually the Crusader cup that I have for my tea. And usual breakfast, I suppose, it was cheese, fricadella now, and a couple of eggs, and some dunkelbrot made in Sweden. It's a traditional bread. It's like a crisp bread, very flat. It's got a hole in the middle. The hole in the middle was when, in times gone by, they would make a whole batch for the winter and then put them up in the roof, hang them up in the roof to keep them out of the way of things that eat, apart from us, you know, the mice and rodents and whatever. Anyway, I digress. Great breakfast, nice day. It's my first time out in 2 weeks. And I've missed it. Work, I suppose. I suppose the first bit's going to be the update on Meet the Bushcrafters. Now, I did a small biog of how I started from a small child, you know, when I was a little kid. We'd go out playing in the woods, and I never called it bushcrafting or survival. I think both words are a bit of a misnomer, particularly for us Brits. It's a bit of a non-word as bushcraft. It's the sexy selling word. And I'll come back to that in a minute, and I've gone over this before. And an update, someone put up a thread on one of the bushcraft forums about who our heroes were or inspirations, not including your mum and dad. So I'd have thought, and I've got a few heroes. I mean, they're not all to do with being outdoors. A couple of musicians, Tito Puente and Miles Davis, two great musicians that have sadly passed into spirit. Other guys that have inspired me, I suppose my foreman, when I was an apprentice baker, he did a lot to nurture me. It wasn't the easiest bloke to work with, and he could make my life hell at times, but he pointed me in the right direction on many things. And I think had he seen the state of the trade that I trained in now, he would be severely upset, because he was a craftsman and so was I. And still am. It's just I can't practice my craft. I have to use that instead of that. But that's by the by. I suppose we take our inspiration from many sources. I mean, you've got guys like Ray, Moores, Cody Lundin, and what have you. Yeah, they could inspire us to get out in the woods, but there are many other people, you know. There's a chat, and guys in the UK of a certain age, or people of a certain age in the UK, will remember one Jack Hargreaves, who used to be on the TV. He was most famous for doing a series of programmes called Out of Town. which dealt on all various aspects of country matters, you know, from farming through to fishing. My dad used to always criticise it, by the way, because if you ever went fishing, you'd always forget something. But it was an inspiration for a lot of people, I should think, even though he never comes up. He did countryside stuff. Now, this thing we call bushcraft, if you go to Australia, Africa, Canada, North America, you can practice bushcraft. You have bush. We have woodland in the UK. We have moors. We have heath. We don't have bush, so we don't really practice bushcraft. What we call bushcraft, well, as I said, when I was a kid, it was playing in the woods. Avalon's dad was classified as a lumberjack, and actually what he did was coppice work. He made hurdles, he made chestnut laths, he made plaster laths for ancient buildings, anything that could be harvested from coppice woodland. I suppose today we would call him a bushcrafter. Then he was a lumberjack. As I say, it's a very, very contentious point at the moment as far as I'm concerned. You know, we call it bushcraft because it's a sexy word, you know. To me, it's camping with benefits. You know, we go out in the woods, we've got all our kit with us, you know, we've driven to the woods, we've walked about 60 foot into the woods, we've unpacked it all, we've put our tarp up, we've put our sleeping bag, a hammock, maybe bivvy bag, put all that together. We stay put for a couple of nights. We don't actually do much. Sit around a campfire and have a few bevies. I must point out that that is a gross generalisation. I tend not to neck a few bevies. Tea's my brewer of choice. For the most part, I do like a beer. But that's how I see it. You know, I see guys, they want to do bushcraft, they go out and they buy all the kit. You know, they get themselves a tarp, hammock, sleeping bag, loads and loads of kit, put it in a very, very big rucksack, and then looking around for a pack horse to carry it out because it's too heavy. As I say, bushcraft is basically camping with benefits. The way I look at it is, as someone described, you know, it's a wheel and all the skills of the spokes. It's a very difficult subject to really talk about because it is so wide-ranging. I mean, you've got guys like Mike in Canada, Seth and Tim. They've got access to some amazing woodland, but it comes at a price, you know. And like over here in the UK, we have woodland, but it's different woodland. It's managed differently, and we have some great organisations as well, like the Ramblers, which is sadly overlooked by many bushcrafters. I don't think it's for them. But without the Ramblers, access to a lot of the countryside would not be possible. They're a great organisation. I've been seeing a few threads on knives, and I think a lot of people have lost the plot on knives. You don't need a bloody great knife. In fact, I killed a conversation stone dead the other day by pointing out that the size of a man's knife is in inverse proportion to his penis, and they all kept quiet after that. There's a lot of play, you know. There's a lot of conversation about which is the best knife. I use Morris Kachansky as one, cited as one example. He used to use for many years, and I don't know whether he still does, the Mora clipper, the Mora knife. You know, Mora is a little town in Sweden that produces some good steel. It's a 4-inch blade. It's a great little knife. and you can abuse it at your will, and it still comes back for more. You can spend up to £2,000 on a bushcraft knife, a 4, 5, 6 inch blade, and you've got something to perform for after it. Most people would be scared to take it out. Some guys are hooked on overly large knives, you know, cookeries and what have you. A cooker is a tool that you use in the jungle. I've seen people using machetes in English woodland. Why? We're not in the jungle, you don't need it. And an Iban Perang or some machete, why? They say in fact it's classified as the most dangerous tool in bushcraft because it has the longest sharp edge. Gaz, if he was down to one tool, he would prefer to take an axe, and that I can understand. It is a fairly useful tool. But you don't want, again, you know, some people want to take the biggest axe they can find. A small forest axe is great. Combine that with a bucksaw, and you can fell almost any tree you see around you. Given time, even a giant sequoia in California, but then you might not get away with it because I understand a few of those are protected. Yeah, you don't need a lot of toy. You don't need a lot of tools. Almost they are toys, really, ain't they? I mean, let's face it. We're grown men playing at Boy Scouts. Yeah, you don't need huge knives. I've had thoughts on survival tools. I've never ever carried survival tools. I mean, most people put up, you know, comments. You know, what would you carry for a survival situation? In fact, you would carry nothing, because the time that you find yourself in a particular survival situation, you won't have the fancy little tin in your pocket. You won't have a knife in your pocket. In fact, you'd have nothing that could help you in your pocket, maybe with just a bit of cordage keeping your trousers up. Because invariably the situation happens when you least expect it. Take a look at the guys that crashed in the Andes all those years ago. And their story was told in the film Alive. Some of them only survived by eating their dead compatriots. That is survival. What we play at isn't survival. You know, some guys prepare for doom. Okay, you can do all the preparation you like. When the shit hits the fan, it may not be the guy that's all prepped up that's going to survive. Again, as Gaz has pointed out, those that have been least prepared have actually survived. Those that have actually had all the training haven't survived. Each situation can only be attacked on its own merits. You cannot be prepared all the time. That is your best preparation, getting knowledge in there. You know, knowing different foods to eat, knowing what trees are good for what purpose. I suppose I'm wittering on and having a bit of a rant, but some of the threads that I see on these bushcraft forums do sort of want to make me rant, and I can't always get it into words and type it down. It's very difficult. So, another guy that's very inspirational is Shackleton, rather than Scott. Though Scott reached the South Pole, he and his guys never got out alive. Whereas Shackleton put his men before glory. And in a way he's achieved glory because he put his men first. Great guy was Shackleton. And Serrano finds he's another inspirational guy. Mad, bad and dangerous to know. And I suppose at the moment one of my biggest inspirations is Avalon. I don't know how she inspires me. I think it's the fact that she never puts a block on my coming out to play in the woods and to do this. I haven't for the past few months done an awful lot of what we call bushcraft. I've just sat here, chatted, had breakfast. But, you know, you can't be hacking trees down all the time or else there won't be any trees left. you know, and then you've got to question yourself, what is bushcraft? Is it humping a bloody great Dutch oven and necking a few beers, or is it getting out and walking, taking notice of what's around you? There is a Buddhist called Thich Nhat Hanh, and he was asked about meditation, and he turned around and he says, drink the tea and taste the tea. And that's what, I think that's what bushcraft is a form of meditation in one sense. Get out, you know, explore where you live. It isn't all about being in the middle of the wilderness, surviving on next to nothing. That is one aspect of it. The biggest aspect, and I think, though Ray's been criticised, and Ray's sort of focused on it a lot, is watching wildlife and studying wildlife. You know, we are surrounded by the stuff. We've got trees, we've got all the various plants. Around here we've got deer. If you're very lucky you might see rats and hedgehogs, the odd feral cat. Let's see what, foxes, bees, so much to see. I think we lose our way, you know, we get caught up in the gadgetry of it. The gadgetry is so, frankly, annoys me so much. I mean, none of us are totally immune from it, but, you know, you carry less by knowing more. You know, you don't go out and buy all the bits of shiny kit under the sun. I think, you know, I've spent too much money here, what can I get rid of? Think about what you're going to do. Seek advice from the old boys and look at what guys like Kephart and Nesmith have done in the past. For minimal kit, well, if you really want to take it to minimal kit, take out a Swiss Army knife. It's all you want to carry with you. Be in as remote an area as possible. Then survive for a year. If you can do that, you've cracked it. And if you think that's a bit far-fetched, okay, the Swiss Army knife wasn't about 200 years ago, but it was this dog rib woman, and she had a 2-inch knife blade, and that was it. When she got back to it wasn't her tribe, for whatever reason she was made an outcast from her particular group of people. She came across another group of dog rib, and she was welcomed in, and she was considered quite a desirable woman because the fact she survived for a year in the Canadian woodland, and she did it. You know, you don't have to have lots of fancy gear. I just think it's a disease of modern society. We are all taught to be consumers. We are not taught to be anything else now. We are taught from the time you are born, you are taught to consume, to go and buy the latest thing. And whether we try and fight it or not, we always end up succumbing to it. We are the zombies that we see in films, basically. Anyway, that's it, I suppose. I've had a little bit of a rant, a few bits of chats. Oh yeah, before I go, the toasting fork. I hope some of you find inspiration with that. It's something I've been sort of kicking around my head for a while, and I think it was Crazy Saint that's given him an idea of using it, making. No, it was. I think it was somebody. I can't remember whether it's Roosevelt, Adam or who, but they're thinking about combining it into a walking stick. Good idea. Well done for the guys that have done the challenge. I was hoping more people would have taken up the baton on that, and as you can see, it is not an easy thing to do. I was going to go over lighting a match, because funnily enough, there's a right way and a wrong way to light a match, and people have actually frozen to death not knowing the difference. They've got a pile of broken matches and all the fire ready, and they've actually frozen. Very sad sight. Unfortunately, I haven't brought the matches out with me today, but I might do that as a little bit at home and I'll add it onto the end of this video. Anyway guys, see you down the line. I'm going to finish my tea, pack my windbreak up. Actually, it's feeling a bit cold. We did have a threat of snow, but I can't see that somehow. I've got to get home. I've got some things to sort out. Tim, I apologise for not posting your thing off, but I've had one or two problems regarding my bank, and the same with you, Mick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do your personal video. I will post it up on here, outlining all the details of the rucksack, all the little pockets and the shape and everything, so you know what you're getting. In case you don't know, guys, an internet friend of mine, Jester Bushcraft, was looking out for about a 30-35 litre rucksack, a smaller one. I have one sitting in my shelf indoors gathering dust. I don't use it anymore. In the great spirit of building friendship and doing the great shamanic thing, I gave it to him. Give it away. I haven't used it for about 3 years, so what's the point of me trying to sell it on? Give it to someone that will use it, and I would suggest other people do the same. It's a good thing to build friendships, and it's rehoming stuff. There's other things I want to have a chat about, but I think it can be another time. I'm going to go and finish my tea now. Give Alfie the Wonder Dog a bonio. Enjoy this few moments of peace and quiet, or what we can have for peace and quiet round here. Pack my gear up, and I'll see you down the line.